Hey everybody, Zach here from Mythos Pedals, and today we're doing another guitar modification video. This time we are modding this Fender Ventera 2 Telecaster. I got this guitar from Franklin Guitar Works. Check out the link in the description to their reverb page. You get some killer deals on a lot of great guitars. But this guitar is going to get kind of the whole treatment like what we did on the Epiphone. So we're going to change the pickups, redo the wiring, we're going to treat this fretboard, which is a little dry, and just kind of spruce this thing up and make it even better than it already is. So first things first, we're going to take these strings off, clean this fretboard, and apply some of the Monty's Montypresso and make it look nice and deep and rich. So Matthew, what do you think about these Ventera guitars?
You know, I think they're nice. We did a whole episode of the PP Pushers about the Ventera and what's going on over at Fender, and trying to parse all the different, price ranges and stuff. And I think Ventera 2s are probably some of the best guitars they make overall.
A lot of models. I really like this one. It definitely feels like a vintage style guitar. The way the neck is really set into the body, all the appointments. You know, it's nothing crazy. It's just an update to the old reissue series, but I do think they are a lot nicer than the old Mexican reissue stuff that were in all the catalogs when we were, sitting in high school.
Lads.
Looking at Musician's Friend.
Oh my gosh.
But this fretboard's pretty dry, so I think it's going to really improve with a little bit of that Monty's. Now, a lot of people...
The Monty video was popping off.
It was, and I think a lot of people just said, just use shoe polish or dye and whatnot. And I mean, I guess if you want to do that, I don't know how those sort of materials would react with finish, or if you got it on the fret or on your pick guard or whatever. Mm-hmm. But to me, that seems like you're just asking for trouble. I know there's a lot of people that have done it, I'm sure, but
I think
I've not done that.
Anything, as long as it's guitar approved.
Right.
That's what I want. Somebody that did the research ahead of me. Right. And made it for guitars. I like that. And
also, I really like Matt and the guys over at Monty's. I think that they do some really great stuff, and I want to support them because they're good people. They're people too. Not like those shoe polish companies.
Yeah,
Kiwi, get out of here.
None of those people are real.
That's right. So we're gonna hit it with some naphtha. Because there's some weird little white stuff right there. I don't know. And by the way, naphtha, just use naphtha. Don't use any other weird solvents or stuff that. If it comes in a big can like this, it doesn't mean it's guitar safe. But naphtha's fine. So. Let's see if we can degunkify this fretboard.
Degunkify.
That's a technical term. I have been itching to start changing stuff on this guitar, and it's been very hard for me to leave it be. I haven't even restrung it since we got it. Mm-hmm. But
you can blame everyone for buying too many Herculean Deluxes because we kept on having to make more.
A great problem to have.
You know.
Well, it already looks a lot nicer.
No!
But once that dries, it'll probably lose some of that depth of color. But the Monty should get it there. Okay. A little dirty. Oh, yeah.
Okay. No.
You see that? You want to see some of that?
Gunk shot.
Gunk shot. There you go.
Yeah. It's like a Clearasil ad from the 80s. Okay.
So, there's you can... I feel like I might need to hit this again because you can kind of see...
Get in there.
I don't know if this is like buffing compound or something. But it looks like there's some stuff on this
some schmutz
on this fretboard here. So I'm gonna try to get that cleaned off because I worry with anything. I think with any fretboard conditioning. If there's stuff on the fretboard, it could block it from doing its job. But I don't know, this seems to not be coming up, so I might just have to roll with it. I don't know. It does look better, but I think it's time to dip our fingers. So just like last time, now there are some people saying that I used too much, and then I went back and watched the video that Monty's shared, and I was doing it just like them. So to the people that said I was gooping too much of the stuff on, I say, nay, sir. Oh, it's back. Oh, man.
The goop is back.
Okay. There we go.
Queen of the goop. All right, I'm going to get in there tight.
Okay, you see that? There's the Monty's. So we'll start up here on the...
Man.
I think like the secret is kind of rubbing it in and then slathering it on. You know.
Just like if you're doing some barbecue.
Easy.
I said barbecue. Right? Rub it in and then slather it on.
I don't know. I'll defer to Jeff on all meat preparation matters.
Jeff is the king of the meat.
He's the meat master at Mythos
Meat
HQ.
Master General. Yeah, I think you're the best of the three of us.
With meat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff's good stuff, man.
Jeff good meat. Jeff meat good.
Jeff meat good.
Okay.
Him card read good.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna just put a little bit more on here, and then I think that's probably good. I don't think we'll have to let it sit as long as we let the V sit. So just gonna go for it. You know, I kind of want to use a little less because I feel like I've worked it into the fretboard enough, but okay. Okay. Let's clean up the remnants here. All right. So we'll let this sit for a couple hours, do some work, and then see how it looks. I'm sure it'll be a vast improvement. So it's been about an hour since we put this stuff on, and I can already really, I mean, it's not just me. That is remarkably darker. I was kind of concerned about this on the clay dots, but who knows if these are actually clay or just look clay-esque. But man, that looks 100 times better. Okay. Well, keep on keeping on, I guess.
Just keep wiping, bro.
Just keep wiping.
You make that joke every time.
I mean, you know, it's a good joke. Jeff. This is, it's kind of a messy endeavor, but I think it's completely worth doing this. What do you think, Matthew?
I think it's fun watching you do it.
You're not a doer of guitar modifications like I am. But that's okay. And I think a lot of people, one thing that people didn't really get on the last video, or even the Epiphone modification video or the fretboard thing, is like, why? Even with my R9, people ask, like, why go through all the great lengths to change this stuff? And really, it's just because I like doing this. And I think you're either one of those people that enjoys this process and sees the value in it and all the fun you can have by doing this, or you're not. And either way is fine. I think the big thing is that no one is out there going, you know, you're dumb for wanting to tweak a guitar.
I mean, there's plenty of people that make that comment.
I know.
It's a very strange thing to tell another person what they should like doing.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
An absolute stranger to say that you're crazy for wanting to do something as simple as change plastics, or I don't know. To me, it's like I grew up around my dad, who was really into car culture, which was all about modification. You know, even something as simple as changing your stereo is like a normal thing. Maybe not now, but when I was growing up, especially before cars had CD players and stuff, every kid I knew was like putting in an Alpine or whatever in there.
Oh yeah, you couldn't wait to get something good in there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you could play your burned MP3 CDs and stuff later, you know? Well, that looks so much better.
Let's take a look here.
I'm going to try to get it cleaned up. The hardest part about this is getting all of the Montys out from the edge of the fret. Mm-hmm. So I think I have some toothpicks, and I'll just kind of wipe that away and hopefully get this thing cleaned up. But I think, like, just from that,
already looks great.
Major improvement. So get the rest of this wiped off, and we'll start tearing this guitar apart. The neck has been treated. It looks a lot nicer. I think the next thing we're going to do is just start taking all the parts off that we're going to change. So we are going to change the saddles, redo the electronics. We have new pickups, some Brea from Seymour Duncan. These are the Brad Paisley set that apparently are great. So excited to try that. But I'm just going to start ripping all these parts off and get to changing this stuff. I'm going to do something.
What?
Before I get too involved. We are going to measure the distance of these saddles because we're going to replace them, and I want to have an approximate distance so I don't have to worry too much about setting the intonation just so. So we're going to write this down. E, A, D, G, B, E. Here we go. So that's 15.15 millimeters. My multimeter's dying. 14.16 and 15.9. Okay. That's going to make my life a lot easier when I start swapping out those saddles. So before I do that, I'm going to loosen this so we can actually get to the screw. I found out after I did the tooltip video that this Rene Martinez toolkit is no longer available, so I'm pretty bummed out about that because it is definitely one of my favorite tools that I use on all of my guitars. I'm just glad we have a few extra laying around for the shop. All right, take off this control plate. What we'll probably do, sometimes an electric screwdriver is too much. We'll probably just cut all this stuff out since we're going to redo it all anyway. And not going to be too precious about saving any lengths of wire and internal components and whatnot, but we'll see. So down here you can see all the stuff we're going to change. A new switch, the compensated saddles, Mythos selectable tone cap, an electric socket jack, the Brea pickups. We're going to get this thing all zackified.
Zackified?
Yeah.
I like that.
Uh-huh.
Put that on a shirt.
All right. Pick guard. Ooh, did you hear that static? That's how you know it's a Mexican-made guitar. Has that? I don't know. You put your, I don't know.
Is that an offering?
You put a little stash in there, a little bit. Let's see. Oh, some good-looking pots in there. 250. I think these are honestly the same as what I had. So what we might do on this is I might just clip everything that I don't need off, clean up all these connections, and we'll reuse these pots. And it kind of looks like, I think the switch is the same as well.
Hey, chalk
but-
up Vintera too. Good parts.
Well, these are mostly Fender parts, so what we may do is I still may install this, or at least I'm going to show you guys how these sort of three-way toggle switches work, because it's kind of an interesting thing to wrap your head around, and once you kind of understand the function of both of these poles, I think it's a little bit easier to wrap your head around how the wiring itself works. And then there's that guy. All right. Ooh. It's awful shiny. Oh, it's wax. Okay, I'm gonna clip this stuff out. Yes. All right, we're gonna desolder some of these components. I was gonna clip it, but I feel like I should just show you guys some desoldering techniques. So the first thing I like to do is you take your iron with a little solder, and it's gonna make it a lot easier if you tin this. And by the way, I'm not blowing on the solder joint. I'm just blowing the smoke out of my face. So get a little bit on there. And now, first thing I'm going to do is get this ground connection. I'm just going to heat that up. Hold it there. Try to find the place where you see it start to melt. Hold it there for a second. And then... oh. Well, okay. So there's a lesson. Sometimes, since most companies are using lead-free solder, it takes a little bit more heat to get that to move. So something I like to do is I'll apply a little bit of leaded solder, and that'll help all of that start to heat up, and then it is a little bit easier to get that stuff pulled away. There you go. All right, so there's that. I'm going to desolder the rest of these things and just take it from there. All right, removing the output jack. Since this guitar probably does not have a switchcraft jack, we're going to get this thing out of there, and we're going to replace it with an electro socket style jack. But first things first, we have to loosen that nut and then remove the vintage style jack cup. So I have a 1/2 inch socket driver that's in my toolkit here. Spin that out. Now we can take this out, pop that down, and then it's a bit of a bear to get this out, but we can pull that out. These things bite into the wood with pressure when you tighten them. It's like a claw expands and then bites into the wood. So I'm gonna get some pliers on that and try to get that thing pulled out without mucking up the outside of the guitar.
Fun.
Yeah, let's see. Actually, try to give it a twist here. Bend it. Be careful. I don't want to use the sidewalls as a leverage, but there we go. So now that's opened up, got that pulled out, and then we can take this bad boy and boop, put that in, drill some pilot holes, and have a nice little fancy jack cup.
Man, great.
Look at that. Pulled out my helping hand, my third hand, four hands? 2 extra hands of help right here. Come, Matthew. This little holder jig that you can use for stuff. So I've got the socket in here. Now I can clip a wire here and then put it where it belongs and solder it with both my hands free. Isn't that nice?
Man, that thing's cool.
Isn't that lovely? It's a Kato. Available on Amazon, but here we go. Just going to solder the ground connection. We'll do the same thing for the hot. Put that in there. Bit real pretty. And let's see. There we go. Easy.
Man.
It's like I know what I'm doing. Okay, we're gonna feed in the electric socket, and we'll place these screw holes where they're kind of parallel with the shape of the body. Let's see. That looks pretty good.
Cool.
This is hard stuff. There we go. Now, I'm gonna screw that in and lock this in place and then drill the other one so it doesn't wiggle and move on me. There we go, that one's in. So now I can drill this pilot hole. Putting in this other one here, and we are electro-socketed up. I like these because I feel like you can use like a right angle plug or something and get in there where normally with a Tele cup you can't. You can only use like a straight plug. There we go. So, like that. One other thing I like to do, this guitar on a Telecaster bridge, the ground goes through the plate and grounds the plate in the strings just through the screw, because the plate on a Tele pickup is grounded. The screw touches the plate. It creates a circuit, but redundancy with ground is never a bad thing. So one thing I like to do is in the bridge pickup cavity is I add a small pilot hole and I will send some wire through there, loop it around. That way there's a physical connection for the ground and the bridge plate itself. I've seen this on a lot of guitars. I've had Teles that buzzed and this immediately fixed it. So it's really simple. All you have to do is just kind of find a hole or find a spot near the side here. I usually start straight down and then kind of angle and come through there. I'm going to get a slightly larger drill bit so I have a little bit more room to play. Slightly larger bit. Just chipped out the wood a little bit, or the finish, but that's okay. Just need a little spot there so that you're getting an actual connection for the ground so you have continuity. I'll get that routed and show you. So in all the guitar builds that I do, normally use cloth covered wire. I like cloth covered wire not just because it's more old school looking, but because in most instances it's pre-bonded. So all of the wire inside there, because wire is made up of multiple strands, is actually tinned and soldered together. And so doing that, you have a really strong connection, and it actually takes solder a lot easier. So just gonna pull some of this through like that. That should be plenty of wire. And then what you do is you just feed it up through there like that, bend it over, bend it down, and now when you put that bridge plate on, you will have a physical connection for the ground, and that will just get pushed right into the finish and live there. Easy. Huh. How about that? Next thing is improving this bridge. So this guitar came with steel saddles, very much an old school thing that would have been appropriate on a guitar of this era. I like brass saddles, so I ordered some compensated ones. These are actual Fender compensated saddles. So we're going to take these off. We're going to get rid of this bridge pickup and give this thing a little bit of a better shot at intonation. This, by the way, is my gyroscopic DeWalt screwdriver. It's one of the best tools you can have because you just pull the trigger, and whichever way you turn it, it spins. And as fast, depends on how far you turn it. Really handy.
My favorite tool in the shop.
Right. Do you think there's something to the sound of a Tele just because of this thing, Matthew?
Absolutely. Has to be, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most crucial parts of that guitar's design.
All the pieces matter.
It does. So there's the stock 60s import pickup. And we're going to put in one of these Seymour Duncan Brea.
Get our tar pits on. Yep.
So for those that don't know the story of these pickups, Mr. Brad Paisley ordered a, what was it, 68 Telecaster from Chicago Music Exchange with the intention of having it refinished into Paisley, because that's his MO, of course. And come to find out, that guitar had a Paisley finish under a black repaint job. So
Crazy.
pretty wild. So they called it the Brea. All right. All right, next thing is these new compensated saddles. Everyone was moaning at me about the Epiphone not having a compensated bridge, and I don't really worry that much about this, but it is, you know, it's kind of a fun thing to do on a Tele. For whatever reason, all the wrap tail guitars I've ever had, I've never, ooh, there comes the sun. I've never worried too much about having the intonation.
If you know how to rock, no reason to worry
That's
about
right. I'm not playing that high anyway. There's no money up there. Okay. One more, and then I'll get this adjusted back to the specs that it was from the factory, or at least how Franklin Guitar Works had it set up, and we'll be ready to get this thing back on and then start doing some more of the electronics and wiring. Fun. So Matthew and I agree, Tele Bridge needs brass saddles, but
Tele Bridge good.
Tele Bridge good. There we go. There's plenty of pickup lead here. Get this kind of pulled in there. I like this blue cloth covered wire. That's a nice touch, Seymour Duncan.
It's a nice contrast. I like it.
Okay, there we go. I think oftentimes people get so caught up in all the fancy pickup makers that they tend to forget Seymour Duncan's been doing this really since people started swapping pickups. So don't sleep on Duncan, guys. America runs on Duncan.
Man.
Wait a minute.
I'll be thinking about that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wouldn't that be great if you could get pickups at Dunkin' Donuts?
It'd be better than their donuts, that's for sure. There we go. So, that's cinched down, and also, we have that ground wire there. So as an aside about shielding your guitar pickup cavity, control cavity, using shielding tape, conductive paint, all those things, I've had people moan at me in the comment section that I wasn't doing it and I should. I've tried it in the past. I've done it. I've gone to great lengths to make it as perfect as possible, only to find that for me, it didn't make that big of a difference. So what I'm going to do on this guitar is just like how they did it back in the day. I'm going to give it the best wiring job I possibly can, and I feel like that is good enough to give you the cleanest and quietest sound possible. I'm not playing any loud stages. I'm not playing next to a neon sign or anything. So it may help you, but for me, just giving it a good clean wiring job is all most guitars really need. Next, we're going to get this neck pickup installed. So I will route these wires through the little, what is this, like a cigarette holder in here? Put all sorts of fun stuff in there if you wanted to. After we get this in, then we'll start working on the control wiring. I'm going to rewire this thing in a slightly different way than normal, because I like things done my way. And that's okay. One little tip when you're doing a Telecaster and you're going to have to adjust that neck pickup, if it is not mounted to the pick guard, one little tip is just don't put the pick guard on. That's what we're going to do until this thing is ready to be completely buttoned up. We're just going to let this guitar be topless for a minute. It's best to just leave that pick guard off so you can adjust it as you need it, and you're not going to be super annoyed at yourself or the guitar when it's time to raise or lower that pickup. There we go. Let's get wiring. This guitar already had CTS pots. I had previously bought some CTS Fender potentiometers, 250K, but they're exactly the same right here, and these pots worked fine. So I'm just going to repurpose this, and how I'm going to wire it is more akin to how a Les Paul Jr. or just a Gibson guitar is wired. So I am going to...
Why are you going to do that, boss man?
Because I just like the interaction. Woo, that is hot. There we go. It's a little splatter there. I like the interaction between the volume pot and how it cleans up when it's wired the Gibson way. This might be a bit of a bear. Yeah. Thank you, Jeffrey. All right, so let's see here, Matthew.
What?
We're gonna be able to see this, hopefully.
I can come over top.
All right, so I'm gonna use this. And then, there we go. And that should be sucking up some of that solder here. There we go. See, when they're kinked around there, it's really hard to get this stuff off. There we go. Go ahead and clean up this other solder joint. So you can see the remnants of the wire there. There we go. Sometimes just using that desoldering pump, you can clear it up enough just to wipe it away. Get this one. There we go. And then this one. This one might be difficult. Okay, that one. This one might be a bit of a nightmare. Ooh, looks like melted marshmallow.
Smells terrific.
Yep, you know. There's some. I'll get the pliers, get that cleaned up, and then I'll show you how I'm going to rewire this. So I have this Lux capacitor wiring diagram here that has all the old pictures of Gibson wiring from over the years, but this 50s method is how I'm going to wire the volume and tone pot. It works. You know, there's so many different wirings you can put in a guitar, but I like the way this one just feels under my hands, so that's what we're going to use. So, first things first, I'm going to prepare all the connections. So we're going to take this first lug on the tone pot and bend it out of the way. This is not going to connect that. The middle lug will get bent back to the body of the potentiometer, and that's going to be ground. And then the capacitor will go between those two connections. So, going to solder this ground connection first. I like to fill up the little terminal there, and then flow solder here, and those are connected. Next thing, I will prep our selectable tone cap, and that will go right in there, and we can choose what capacitor value we want for this guitar.
Nice plug.
So I attached some leads on here, And it's a little tight, so I'm going to bend these kind of a little bit out that way, kind of give these a little bit of a curve. You know what?
What?
We're just going to clip this, and then I'm going to fish that in that way. Take some pliers. There we go. So this is going to be really handy using the selectable tone cap. We can pick the capacitor value. You can get this at mythospedals.com, and this is just a handy little thing to have, so you can shape how much effect the tone knob has. So we soldered that connection, and then the output of the guitar will be here and go to the output jack. And I'm just going to kink this little wire up like that, and it's ready for wiring up. Wiring a 3-way Telecaster switch. This switch is interesting in how it functions, and I just kind of want to talk about how these things are wired up. So we have the wiring diagram from Seymour Duncan, but I basically want to show you how this thing is doing its job. There are 2 switches working at the same time in here. There's connections on this side and connections on that side. But how these sides work, here, this is the output wire. This goes to basically the input of the potentiometer, which then gets connected to the output jack. This little blade right here touches these terminals as you move the switch. So you can see this one's connected to this one's connected to that one, and these wires make the jumpered connections so that you are getting either the neck pickup or the bridge pickup or both. It's a really simple mechanism that is working 2 switches at one time. But we're going to rewire this other switch, get it cleaned up, and get it ready to install into the guitar. Deciding how you want to approach wiring one of these switches, you can throw a bunch of wire on there just like Fender did, and that's going to work just fine. But we want this to be, we want it to be pretty, right? So I'm going to try my best to make this look really nice. You know what? You know what I'm going to do? Matthew, you know what I'm going to do?
I don't actually. Just get in there.
Let's get in there. Here we go. So
I'm ready. Wow.
Here comes the rain. So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to slip a little insulation on the middle of this so that when it crosses these terminals, it's not going to run the risk of shorting anything out like that. Oh, it's going to be perfect. Okay, so that will go there. Let me make that connection. And then I have a little bit of extra here. And this will go here. I'm referring, of course, to the very handy Seymour Duncan wiring guide. They have pretty much every wiring diagram you could ever think of on their website too, so it's been a resource for me for ages for wiring up guitars in a variety of ways. If you need to see how to wire stuff like series and parallel, things like that, out of phase, they usually will have some sort of diagram on how to do that. So
when I worked at Lawler, I would just go and send all my customers the Seymour Duncan wiring diagrams. Because why would we do them if they already did all of them?
Oh man. Wires are routed, electronics are prepped, so we're gonna get this thing hopefully buttoned up and pretty. So I've cut and pulled back all the pushback wire to where it should be pretty easy to get this thing cinched up. So we have 4 ground wires, one for each pickup, the output jack, and then the bridge ground. So I'm gonna get all those together, give these a twist, get all our grounds connected, then we'll take pliers, get those really nice and tight. And then to expedite the grounding process, let's tin these. So all of those are together. Easy. Now, since we're using the old potentiometers, it's already tinned. Grab your chopstick. You guys should know about this by now. And we are going to place that there. Hold that with the chopstick. Let's get some solder. One of the easiest things to do is just get your iron loaded up with solder. Let's push it. And there we go. It is connected. Next, we'll do the output jack. Make sure that you have the right connection. That's this one, coming to the output jack. That comes off that middle lug of our volume pot. Push that back. I'm gonna get that poked through there just gently. We kind of have to be careful because of the tone cap there, but just flow that in, make a nice connection. That's good. I'm gonna clip away that using our flush cutters. Next, we have our pickup connections. So let me grab my diagram, make sure we're putting these in the right spot. And this thing will be ready to test. So neck pickup, this is white wire, that goes to this terminal. And the bridge pickup, which is this yellow wire, goes to this terminal. Get that in there and bend. Again, I'm not blowing to cool off the solder connection, just getting the smoke out of my face. Get that nice and clean looking. Now, since that connection is nice and strong, you can clip the excess away. Make sure you know where that little clipped bit of wire goes. But that is now done. Have our screwdriver. We have the Black Star Fly, Matthews trunk amp. Got it plugged in. This electric socket jack with the Switchcraft jack in there is no joke. This thing is in there. It's not going anywhere. So we've got it on. Bridge pickup. Hey.
Nice.
Bridge and neck.
Nice.
Working. Neck. No bridge. Now let's make sure that the volume knob works. Hey. And then the selectable tone cap. There we go. So on the tone cap, we use the .01. Smaller than what you'd normally find in a Fender, but it gives it just a little bit more usable range of controls. It's a little more honky, not quite as mushy and dark. So next we're going to get this thing buttoned up. We'll get it restrung, and I'm going to show you some other tips and tricks for making sure that this thing is as gig ready as it can be. All right, before we get it restrung and all of that, I'm going to change the knobs. I just like domed Telecaster knobs. I may change these back. Already took those off. Boom. For those that don't know, it's just got a little set screw there. And I'm going to set it like this. And there it is. Nothing really interesting to see. You just want to leave a little height so you're not rubbing against that control plate. Now this is always a problem. You don't want your switch tip to fly off. And so some people will take paper and put it in there. But an easy thing to do is take some wire cutters or pliers that have wire cutters. Grab that and just bite into it. And what that's going to do is give it some little teeth. So when you put that switch tip on, it's not going anywhere. It's locked on there. You can still get it off. It's not glued on, but you're not going to flick it and then lose it and have to go to Guitar Center and steal another one. Dang. Matthew's words, not mine. There we go. So the pickups are in. I adjusted the string height, the pickup height, and I played with the height of the knobs. I had these a little high, so they're sitting a little further down. But man, this guitar is great. So we're gonna get the pick guard put back on here. I did a recording of the guitar without the modifications, so we can hear it. I'll let you hear it with the modifications. I know that's something that anytime someone does one of these videos, that's the first thing people want. But yeah, I think this thing turned out great. These Seymour, Duncan, Brea pickups are awesome. This really hits hard and it sounds really good. So I'm excited to hear it through the setup in my office. So get this guard back on and we'll call this thing done. So there you have it. The Vintera 2 60s Telecaster is modded. Nothing too crazy. I think the pickups made a massive improvement. The selectable tone cap is really fun. I might get in there and actually use a smaller cap value to make this more like the Cocteau Eldred mod, which is really great mod. I like the 50s Gibson wiring in a Telecaster. I feel like the cleanup is really good. It's familiar to what I know. Switch tip's not going anywhere. All the wiring, the electro socket jack is nice and tight. Everything about this guitar is great. Check out Franklin Guitar Works, which is where we got this. Check out SeymourDuncan.com. And don't forget, go to mythospedals.com, learn about the pedals we make, learn about the selectable tone cap, all the plastics for Les Pauls, all the stuff that we do in addition to pedals. But we're really proud of our pedals, so check out some pedals. Catch you guys later.